Okay, students, can you see me and see the slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. First of all, a very happy new year to each of you.
Same to
Happy
you, ma'am.
same to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ma'am.
So currently still there are so many students to join. Let us wait for 1 or 2 minutes. Let others join, then we will start. We have finished the classification of medicinal and aromatic plants topic in last lecture, right? Classification we have done, na?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, though I think we should start now. Still so many students are left to join. Okay, so today we would be studying about the topic of the good agricultural practices. That is, in short, it is known as the GAP guidelines. Now, these actually are guidelines are given by the WHO. So before we start the cultivation, you just study about the agrotechnology and the cultivation of the various medicinal and aromatic plants. It is necessary that you should know that what are the guidelines, what are the ideal conditions which should be followed while doing the cultivation of any medicinal or the aromatic plant. Okay, so the learning objective is that you would be able to just acquaint yourselves about the guidelines which are given by the WHO, and then after that you would be getting the knowledge about the what is the importance of practicing these GAP guidelines. So these are actually the ideal conditions which should be followed while the doing the cultivation of the medicinal or any aromatic plant. Okay, now we come to the general part, that is the introduction. So let's start with, yes, Namrata Sinha. Am I audible to
Ma'am?
you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you see the slides?
Yes, ma'am. General part.
Yes, so you just switch on your webcam. Yes. Okay, now you can read the introduction part, the general part.
Yes, ma'am. The GAP guidelines serve as the basic principle for the production and quality management of medicinal plants, and these guidelines are applicable to the whole production process, transportation, and all major quality managing procedures of medicinal plants.
Hmm.
The main objective of these guidelines is to contribute to the quality assurance of medical plant materials used as the source for herbal medicine, which aims to improve the quality, safety, and efficacy of finished herbal products.
Yes. So basic why we it is necessary to follow these GAP guidelines, because these are actually the assurance which is given to the customers if these guidelines are being followed properly, that the herbal medicine that has been prepared according to these guidelines, they have a better quality, safety, they are and efficacy. They have a good efficacy of whatever the finished herbal products we get. So these are actually the basic guidelines which are required to be followed while doing the production, cultivation, and even the quality management of the medicinal plants. So these guidelines, they start from right from the cultivation process, generally from the selection of the production site, where you would be selecting a particular area for the growth of for the cultivation of a particular medicinal plant. कैसी वहाँ पे सॉइल होनी चाहिए, कैसे क्लाइमेट होना चाहिए. Okay, so all of these factors we would be studying one by one, along with the कहाँ से हमें सीड्स लेने चाहिए, सीड्स कैसे होने चाहिए, what are the processing conditions, post harvest conditions, and transportation की आपका फील्ड से प्रोसेसिंग प्लांट में क्या ट्रांसपोर्टेशन कंडीशंस, आइडियल कंडीशंस क्या होनी चाहिए. So all these factors we would be studying in these under these guidelines. Then we come to the first factor, that is like I told you कि botanical identity. अब जो भी आप medicinal plant की cultivation, suppose if you are thinking to start the cultivation of aloe vera, okay, for an example, so you should first identify कि उसका, you have to assure कि उसकी botanical aloe vera ले लिया, but you have to first confirm it from a botanist or from whatever source you procured your planting material, that is it is confirmed, but aloe vera and not any related species. Okay, so it has to be well recorded. Yes, Namrata, am I audible?
Ma'am, your voice is cracking.
My voice is cracking.
Yes, ma'am. It's not clearly audible.
Yes. Okay, cracking to Namrata only or to everyone? Am
Ma'am,
I
it's
not clear?
actually
Ma'am,
Ma'am,
everyone.
now it's
Ma'am, now it's clear, but it's earlier it's what cracking.
Okay, so uh, uh, we would be studying about this botanical. Have you heard what I have said? Yes. Uh, okay, Zaman Almas, am I
yes,
audible
ma'am.
to you?
Yes, ma'am. Now you're audible.
Okay, so just read the slide, botanical identity.
The botanical identity. The botanical identity, that is scientific names
Can you see
which
this?
include genus, species, subspecies, variety, author, and family of each medicinal plants under cultivation should be verified and recorded. If available, the local and English
Hmm.
common names should also be recorded. Other relevant informations
Hmm.
such as the cultivar name, ecotype,
Hmm.
chemotype, or phenotype may also be provided as appropriate. For commercially available cultivars, the name of the cultivar and of the supplier should be provided.
Yes. So botanical identity now, as I told you, am I audible to you clearly, or my voice is still cracking?
Ma'am, you're audible.
Oh, it's
Okay. Audible. Okay, so as I told you that in the good agricultural practices or the GAP guidelines, you have to just assure the quality of your final herbal product. So the process, the guidelines start right from the botanical identity, confirming your whatever the plant you have chosen for the cultivation. So it can be any medicinal or aromatic plant like aloe vera or ashwagandha or sarpgandha, or tulsi. So whatever the plant you are choosing, you have to first confirm that it is actually the correct plant. Okay, so for that you have identified it, you have verified from the, you have purchased the planting material, quality planting material from any verified supplier, okay, of the seeds or of the cuttings, whatever the planting material you are taking. Then you have to write, you have to maintain, actually all these things have to be recorded and documented. So you have to mention what is the genus of that plant, what is the species, then what is the subspecies. Subspecies is also known as the variety, and who is the author, that and what is the family. The author here means the who has just discovered, or from where you have just purchased that plant, your planting material. Okay, so all of these have to be verified and recorded in a register. If available, you have to mention the local name and the English name, common names which are generally used to name that plant. Okay, then you have to also include the other information, such as what is the cultivar name. Now cultivar is, I have given the definition also. So it is actually a plant variety that has been produced in cultivation by selective breeding. So this is actually, cultivar is generally uh, uh, given, it is generally being developed by the farmers. Okay, so farmers, they generally work in the field and they know that this breed is, or this plant variety is good, it is a high yielding, so they generally just do the manipulation or the selective breeding, and they develop a cultivar. So that we know, we call it as a cultivar. So it is actually a plant variety. So it's given an example, I have mentioned example also, like you have seen many plants that is written, like for example, Taxus baccata variegata. So Taxus is the genus, baccata is the species, and variegata is the subspecies or the variety. Okay, so in this sense, if you find the this sequence of the botanical name or the scientific name, so the third part is generally refers to the variety or the subspecies of that plant. ओके, सो दिस वाज द कल्टीवर नेम. कल्टीवर नेम समझ में आया आपको, क्या है? व्हाट इज द कल्टीवर? यस,
Yes, ma'am.
only one voice I am able to hear. Rest others, are you
Yes,
listening?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, understood.
Yes,
अच्छा ठीक है. ओके, अच्छा इको टाइप नेक्स्ट है. इको टाइप, इको टाइप कोई बताएगा क्या होता है? व्हाट इज इको टाइप?
Ma'am,
Anybody
ecological
know?
appearance of the crop.
Yes, where is the what is the ecological conditions where the crop is usually found. Okay, so you have to mention the ecotype also. Then comes the chemotype. Chemotype, anybody would like to attempt? Chemotype and phenotype.
Chemical composition of crop.
Chemical. Yeah.
Chemical compositions.
And
Yes. What are the
phenotype is the appearance.
Phenotype is
yes,
physical composition.
and phenotype is the physical appearance of the plant, how the plant looks like. Okay, and chemotype is what are the chemical constituents, which are major chemical constituents, important chemical constituents present in the plant. Okay, so that all these informations has to be provided if you are following the GAP guidelines. Okay, and for commercially available cultivars, the name of the cultivar and the supplier, the name of the supplier from where you have purchased the quality planting material, it has to be provided. Okay, so this, all these things, they come under the botanical identity of the GAP guidelines. Now we come to the second point, that is what should be the ecological environment of the or production site. जहाँ पे आप कल्टीवेशन स्टार्ट करने की सोच रहे हो तो वहां का एनवायरमेंट कैसा होना चाहिए, तो उसका भी यू हैव टू जस्ट सिलेक्ट द साइट अकॉर्डिंग टू द ग्रोथ ऑफ योर प्लांट, जो आपकी प्लांट की ग्रोथ को फेवर कर सके. ठीक है, तो यस आई विल नाउ आस्क Johnny or Nuhro, just to open your webcam and read the slide. Johnny, am I audible to you? No, he is not there. Joyesh Sahu?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yes, Joyesh. Can you see the slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just open your webcam.
Yes, ma'am. Ecological environment of production site.
Hmm.
The production site should be selected according to the suitability from the medicinal plant and determined by the ecological surroundings. The medicinal plants can show significant difference in quality when cultivated at different sites, owing to the influence of soil, climate, and other factors. The impact of past land uses on the cultivation site, including the planting of previous crops and any applications of plant protection products, should be evaluated. The production site should be established that is free of air, water, and soil pollution. It should also be away from all sources of pollution.
Yes. So these are basically the general guidelines to be followed when you select the site, production site for your crop. तो इसमें लिखा हुआ है जैसे कि it should be फर्स्ट, तो यही इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है कि इट शुड बी सुटेबल फॉर द ग्रोथ ऑफ योर मेडिसिनल प्लांट. ठीक है, आपका प्लांट के हिसाब से अगर वो ट्रॉपिकल कंडीशंस में या टेम्परेट रीजन्स में या सब ट्रॉपिकल एरियाज में ग्रो करता है, तो यू हैव टू सिलेक्ट द प्रोडक्शन साइट अकॉर्डिंग टू द नीड ऑफ योर प्लांट. देन व्हाट, बिकॉज उसके बाद सेकंड क्या है कि आपकी वहां पे यू हैव टू जस्ट सी वेदर द सॉइल and the other provision of water is there for the irrigation. फिर पास्ट में वो लैंड यूजेस का क्या था, अगर वहां पे पहले से कोई इंडस्ट्रियल साइट थी या आसपास कोई इंडस्ट्रियल एरिया है दैट कैन पोल्यूट contribute to the pollution of the soil or the air, okay, and water, so that also you have to keep in mind that you have to avoid those sites. So the production site ideally should be free from any type of air, water and soil pollution. ठीक है, तो इसके अलावा ये देखा गया है कि अगर आप कोई भी प्लांट ग्रो करते हो तो इट हैज द, जो उसमें एक्टिव कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट्स होते हैं, जो उसके केमिकल कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट्स विच आर इम्पोर्टेंट फॉर इट्स थेरेपेटिक एक्टिविटी, जो मेडिसिनल प्रॉपर्टी है, तो वो काफी वेरी करता है डिपेंडिंग अपॉन दी सॉइल क्लाइमेट. ठीक है, तो अगर एक जगह इट इज पॉसिबल कि इफ यू आर ग्रोइंग अ पर्टिकुलर प्लांट, सपोज फॉर एन एग्जांपल अश्वगंधा, it is grown in Rajasthan, okay, and one farmer is growing in UP. So उसमें भी अगर आप active constituents को compare करोगे उसमें, so there might be a difference, okay. So soil और climate conditions का बहुत ज्यादा impact पड़ता है medicinal plants की growth पे, और plus उसके जो chemical constituents है. ठीक है, तो ये ecological environment, is it clear to you, all of you? So if you have any doubt, you can just ask me there only, then and there. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now I come to the third point, that is the climate. Okay. Yes, Dipanshu. Dipanshu, am I audible? I think he's not there. Oh.
Yes, ma'am.
Dipanshu, okay. Dipanshu, just open your webcam. Can you see the slides?
No, slide is not visible.
Why? You were not listening before? आप स्टार्टिंग से नहीं सुन रहे, लेक्चर फॉलो नहीं कर रहे हैं?
No, ma'am, I'm listening, but no network is.
अभी आप देख पा रहे हो स्लाइड्स? कैन यू सी? नो? ओके, आयुषी सिंह. Ayushi, are you there?
Ma'am,
Can you see the slides?
ma'am.
Okay, just open your webcam and read the slide. I think there's a network problem. Okay, Vishwa. Vishwa, are you there? Vishwa Teja. Dolly Kumari. Dolly Kumari, are you there? Aryan Sood. So many students, they have just log in to the MS Teams and they have just gone. Aryan Sood.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you see the slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just read this climate.
Climate conditions, for example, length of day, rainfall, water supply, and field temperature significantly influence the physical, chemical, and biological qualities of medicinal plants.
Hmm.
The duration of sunlight, average rainfall, average temperature, including daytime and nighttime temperature differences, also influence the physiological and biochemical activities of plants, and prior knowledge should be considered.
ओके सो क्लाइमेट में क्या क्या हमारे पास चीजें आती हैं, क्या क्या पैरामीटर्स वी हैव टू कंसिडर कि क्या लेंथ, डे लेंथ है वहां की, वाटर सप्लाई कितना है, रेनफॉल की क्या फ्रीक्वेंसी है, व्हाट इज द फील्ड टेम्परेचर. Okay, so all these factors they influence the physical, chemical and biological qualities of the plants. उसमें और क्या क्या ड्यूरेशन ऑफ सनलाइट है, एवरेज रेनफॉल वहां पे कितनी है, एवरेज टेम्परेचर कितना है, डे में कितना है, नाइट में कितना है. Okay, so all these things have to be considered while you select the site for doing the cultivation of any medicinal plant. So okay, we come to the next slide. Okay, you continue, Aryan. This also soil.
Okay. The soil should contain appropriate amount of nutrients, organic matter, and other elements to ensure optimal medicinal plant growth and quality. The soil must be well aerated. In case of necessity, irrigation should take place regularly and in uniform aliquots. In order to prevent waterlogging, the buildup of high microclimatic humidity, and as consequence, rottenness and mold formation. Optimal soil conditions, including soil type, drainage, moisture retention, fertility, and pH, will be dictated by the selected medicinal plant species and our target medicinal plant part.
Yes, okay. Thank you, Aryan. So here we are considering कि soil का क्या effect होता है आप medicinal plant की growth पे. तो first you have to ensure कि जो भी आपका production site है वहाँ की soil it should be rich in, it should have actually the appropriate amount of the nutrients. Okay, it should have a good amount of organic matter so that there should be a good growth of your medicinal plant. Then the second thing is that your soil should be well aerated. So therefore and the irrigation should be provided so as it should not be susceptible to any water logging, because उससे क्या होगा, water logging से आपकी जो plant growth है that would be hampered. तो ये high microclimatic humidity, इसका मतलब समझता है कोई? What is this high microclimatic humidity? Can anybody tell what is this? It's written buildup of high microclimatic humidity, and as a consequence, it results into rottenness and mold formation.
Ma'am, the humidity around the upper surface, just above the plant, that is the area, that climate.
Yes,
the microclimate.
Yes, just surrounding that. Which is yes, just particularly the around the roots. Okay, the climate because we are talking about the soil. तो soil के अंदर तो roots ही होते हैं. तो जो भी उसके चारों तरफ का, रूट्स के चारों तरफ का जो क्लाइमेट है, पर्टिकुलरली अगर बहुत ज्यादा वहां पे पानी होगी, अगर वो सॉइल इज मोर ससेप्टेबल टू द वाटर लॉगिंग, तो उसकी वजह से क्या होगा, हाई ह्यूमिडिटी होगी, माइक्रोक्लाइमेटिक, दैट इज नोन एज दी हाई माइक्रोक्लाइमेटिक ह्यूमिडिटी. और उसकी वजह से क्या होगा, the roots would be subjected to the rottenness, and there would be mold formation or the fungal formation. Okay, so you have to ensure कि आपकी जो भी soil है, it should be well aerated, and वहाँ पे water logging की condition, it should not be susceptible to the water logging. Okay, so it should have a good drainage, soil drainage, moisture retention should be there, it should be fertile, और उसकी जो pH है, that is also selected according to the growth requirement of your plant. So आपका plant अगर alkaline pH it can tolerate, then you can go with that pH, या फिर neutral. Mostly the plants, they prefer to go around neutral pH. So all these things, they have to be kept in mind before you just start the cultivation of your any plant. Am I clear to you, all of you, about the soil? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, what is meant by microclimatic?
माइक्रोक्लाइमेटिक जैसे अभी बताया कि सॉइल रूट्स के चारों तरफ जो एनवायरनमेंट है आपका, अगर वहां पे वाटर लॉगिंग कंडीशन ज्यादा होगी तो आपकी रूट्स के अराउंड ह्यूमिडिटी बहुत ज्यादा होगी. तो क्लाइमेट मतलब माइक्रो क्लाइमेट, बिकॉज रूट्स के हम इमीडिएटली जो बाहर क्लाइमेट है उसकी बात कर रहे हैं, तो उसमें ह्यूमिडिटी ज्यादा होगी. अगर वाटर लॉगिंग ज्यादा होगी उसकी वजह से दे आर मोर ससेप्टेबल टू रॉटिंग एंड मोल्ड फॉर्मेशन. ठीक है?
Yes.
Okay, so I come to the next slide, that is the seeds and the propagation material. Okay, now who will read? Lokesh God, have you read before? He is not there. Divyansh Mishra. Divyansh.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Can you see the slides, Divyansh?
Yes, ma'am. Seed and
Okay,
propagation materials.
Just read it.
Okay, ma'am. Seeds and propagation material. Seeds, spores, and propagation material should be carefully identified botanically, specifying their species, varieties, cultivars, and origins. The propagation or the planting material should be of the appropriate quality and be as free as possible from contamination and disease in order to promote healthy plant growth. Planting material should be preferably be resistant or tolerant to biotic or abiotic factors. Counterfeit or duplicate standard and adulterate propagation material must be avoided.
ओके, तो इसमें हम बात कर रहे हैं कि सीड्स और जो भी आपका प्रोपोगेशन मटेरियल है जिससे आप प्रोपोगेट कर रहे हो, वो क्या हो सकता है? रूट्स हो सकती हैं, स्टेम कटिंग्स हो सकते हैं. ओके, सो दे हैव टू बी, और द स्पोर्स हो सकते हैं. तो आपको इस तरीके से दे हैव टू बी चूजन दैट, एंड देन दे हैव टू बी आइडेंटिफाइड करेक्टली बाय एनी बॉटनिस्ट. ठीक है? अब ऐसा नहीं है कि आपने सीड्स तो आपने अश्वगंधा के लिए और आपके पास आ गए सर्पगंधा के सीड्स किसी ने दे दिए. तो यू हैव टू जस्ट एश्योर कि जो आप ग्रो कर रहे हो सीड्स जिस प्लांट का, वो करेक्ट है. तो यू हैव टू स्पेसिफाई देयर स्पीशीज, वैरायटीज और कल्टीवर्स, और कहाँ से आपने वो परचेज किया है. So that part we have discussed in the previous slides. Okay, second thing that has to be kept in mind is that they should be free from any contamination or disease. तो उसमें सीड्स में कोई भी आपका फंगल डिजीज नहीं होना चाहिए, कोई भी कंटामिनेशन नहीं होना चाहिए. इट शुड बी ऑफ प्योर वैरायटी. ओके, उसकी वजह से क्या होगा? यू विल गेट अ हेल्दी प्लांट ग्रोथ. एंड ऑल प्रेफरेबली जो प्लांट मटेरियल, जो भी आप ये सीड्स या स्पोर्स आप चूज कर रहे हो, you should select कि they are generally resistant to or they can tolerate the variety of the various biotic and abiotic stresses. वो environment extreme कुछ level तक environmental conditions को tolerate करना, they should be able to tolerate. and pH में भी थोड़ा सा अगर alkaline या acidic की side है तो it should be able to tolerate that conditions also. then you have to just ensure कि आपको कोई भी duplicate या counterfeit क्वालिटी प्लांटिंग मटेरियल ना दे दे, या कोई उसकी सब स्टैंडर्ड, दैट इज द बिलो स्टैंडर्ड. और कई बार एडल्ट्रेशन भी बहुत कॉमन है मेडिसिनल प्लांट्स के केसेस में. तो यू हैव टू जस्ट इंश्योर कि आपके पास जो भी प्रोपोगेशन मटेरियल है वो एडल्ट्रेटेड ना हो, वो प्योर हो. ठीक है? इट शुड बी ऑफ गुड क्वालिटी एंड इट शुड नॉट बी एनी डुप्लीकेट और ऑफ एनी काउंटरफीट मटेरियल. So all these things have to be kept in mind before you select for the seeds and propagation. We come to the next point, that is the cultivation management. Okay, you continue, Divyansh, reading this slide also.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, cultivation management of medicinal plants. Standard operating procedures, that is SOPs, for cultivation should be formulated according to different growing and development needs of plant species. The application of fertilizer should be catered to the needs of plant growth and should opt for increase in yield of medicinal organs and accumulation of active principles in the plants. Use of domestic wastes as fertilizer should be prohibited unless these wastes are purified and can be meet national standards. The use of industrial waste, medicinal refuse, and feces are strictly prohibited.
Okay. So here we are telling कि cultivation में और क्या क्या हमें चीजों का ध्यान रखने की जरूरत है. तो first thing is that you have to maintain the formulate the proper what are the SOPs of your plant according, क्योंकि हर plant का different SOP होगा, standard operating procedure. ठीक है, तो उसमें आपको ये ध्यान रखना है कि एक तो first important चीज है कि जो आप fertilizers apply कर रहे हो, it should be able to according to the needs of the plants. ना तो ज्यादा आपको fertilizer over fertilizer dose देनी है या ना फिर कम, इतना ऑप्टिमम अमाउंट में देना है कि आपका जो है इट वुड जस्ट फेवर द इंक्रीज ऑफ योर मेडिसिनल प्लांट ऑर्गन. ठीक है, अब हर मेडिसिनल प्लांट में अलग अलग ऑर्गन्स होते हैं जहाँ पे एक्टिव प्रिंसिपल्स होते हैं. जैसे एलोए वेरा में द मेडिसिनल प्रॉपर्टी इज बिकॉज ऑफ द जेल विच इज प्रेजेंट इन द लीव्स. तो इसमें जो है एक्टिव प्रिंसिपल जो है आपका लीव्स में है. ठीक है, इस तरीके से जैसे सर्पगंधा है, सर्पगंधा में या अश्वगंधा में रूट्स में है. ठीक है, सर्पगंधा में भी रूट्स में है. तो ऐसे बहुत सारे प्लांट्स हैं. और जैसे जिम्निमा है उसमें है लीव्स में है. तो वी वुड बी स्टडिंग वैरायटी ऑफ द मेडिसिनल प्लांट्स की, और देन यू वुड बी एबल टू नो कि देयर आर डिफरेंट ऑर्गन्स वेयर द एक्टिव प्रिंसिपल्स आर बीइंग एक्यूमुलेटेड. सो यू हैव टू एंश्योर कि आप इतना फर्टिलाइजर यू अप्लाई that would just favor the accumulation of that active principle in the plants, क्योंकि ultimately तो आपको इससे herbal medicines ही बनानी है ना. That's why we are doing the cultivation. You are preparing the herbal drugs or the plant based drugs. Okay, and the third point about the fertilizer is that कि जो भी domestic waste है that is not generally allowed to be used as a fertilizer unless and until they are being purified. Okay, या तो आप उसको purify करो, नहीं तो they are generally not recommended. And similarly, besides the domestic waste, the industrial waste or the medical refuse and the feces, they are also strictly prohibited because they may contain the pathogens. So that's why they are being generally not recommended to be used as a fertilizers until and unless they are being treated well according to the national standards. I hope it's clear to all of you. Yes, shall I move on the next slide? Okay. Okay, these are also the points again in the cultivation management. Okay, now I'll ask someone else to read. Okay, Monica Sinha. Monica Sinha, are you there? Munmi Das. Munmi Das. Kenna, are you there? Maman, so many students are really not there. Maman, see, if you are not attending the class and you are just logging in, so I won't be giving you the attendance. I'll just take the attendance at the end of the class by calling out their name. So you better keep in mind that. Komal. Komal. Namrata. Namrata Sinha.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Namrata, you are there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just open your webcam and just read this slide.
Ma'am, cultivation and management of medicinal plants.
Hmm.
Okay, ma'am. Human excreta must not be used as a fertilizer owing to the potential presence of infectious microorganisms or parasite.
Hmm.
Animal manure should be, yes, ma'am.
Thoroughly composted. Yes.
Okay, ma'am. Animal manure should be thoroughly composted to meet safe sanitary standards of acceptable microbial limits and destroyed by the germination capacity of weeds.
Hmm.
Integrated pest management should be adopted for the prevention of disease and pests. Pesticides and herbicides application should be avoided as far as possible. In
Hmm.
case of necessity, the smallest possible amount of high efficacy, low toxicity, and low residue pesticides or herbicides could be used in such a way as to minimize residue and prevent heavy metallic pollution.
Okay, so here it's again just in the continuation, like why we are discouraging the use of any domestic waste because that may contain the human excreta. So it is generally not preferred because they may contain the infectious microorganisms, so which is not good for our plant growth. Okay, and if we are using the animal manures, then you have to ensure that it is first thoroughly composted. Have you read about the composting process in your syllabus? I think there is another course based on your fertilizers and manure. So there you should have read about that composting process. Can anybody tell what happens in the composting? Yes. पढ़ा है आप लोगों ने composting process? Yes. Namrata?
No,
आप
ma'am,
बता
not
सकते
yet.
हो? अच्छा, not yet covered. No idea about the composting process?
Ma'am, like the dung, cow dung mainly, which is used for composting, that is put into the pit and then it is covered with plant materials and litters, so that it gets converted into composts and which can
Yes.
be later used.
Yes. So इसमें जो important चीज है that you have missed is कि during the composting the temperature is increased by the activity of the microorganisms. Thermophilic bacteria होते हैं तो उसकी वजह से high temperature होता है. तो जिसमें क्या होता है कि जो जितने भी पैथोजेनिक माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिजम्स हैं दे आर बीइंग इनएक्टिवेटेड एंड डिस्ट्रॉयड. ठीक है, इसलिए इसमें बोला गया है कि एनिमल मेन्योर्स अगर आप यूज भी कर रहे हो तो इट शुड बी फर्स्ट थॉरोली कंपोस्टेड ताकि उसमें जो भी इन्फेक्शियस माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिजम्स या फिर अदर पैरासाइट्स हैं दे आर बीइंग डिस्ट्रॉयड. इवन जो वीड्स हैं समटाइम्स वीड्स आर आल्सो प्रेजेंट. ओके, तो उसकी भी जो सीड्स हैं दे आर आल्सो बीइंग डिस्ट्रॉयड. उसकी जो जर्मिनेशन कैपेसिटी है वीड्स की दे आर आल्सो डिस्ट्रॉयड. So this is required to meet the safety sanitary standards. Okay, and the other thing is that the IPM, that is the integrated pest management practice, should be adopted. So what is this in IPM practice? That also you would be studying in your other syllabus. So integrated pest management का मतलब है कि आप pesticides और herbicides use तो कर सकते हो but in वेरी लिमिटेड मैनर. जहां पे जरूरत हो वहीं पर ही यू हैव टू यूज इट. जुडिशियस यूज होना चाहिए उनका एप्लीकेशन. ऐसे ओवर जो है जबरदस्ती कि यू डोंट हैव टू अप्लाई द पेस्टिसाइड्स एंड हर्बिसाइड्स पर्टिकुलरली द केमिकल बेस्ड. ठीक है, सो दीज आर जनरली अवॉइडेड because it can lead to the pesticide residues in the soil, so that can cause the toxicity and heavy metal pollutions. So that's why it is generally encouraged that the smallest possible amount of the high efficacy and low toxicity और जिसके low residues हो pesticides or herbicides के, that has to be used. Okay, I hope this is clear, this point.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, next we come to the slide irrigation and drainage. Okay, just continue. Rishita, read this slide also.
Okay, ma'am. Irrigation and drainage should be controlled and carried out in accordance with the need of the individual medicinal plant species during its various stages of growth. Water used for irrigation purposes should comply with local, regional, and or national quality standards Care should be exercised to ensure that the plants under cultivation are neither over nor underwatered.
Okay. So here we are telling about the guidelines which have to be followed during the water supply or the while doing the irrigation of the plant. So you have to first ensure कि जो भी आप water use कर रहे हो for irrigating, it should be of good microbiological quality. वो जो है contaminated नहीं होना चाहिए, नहीं तो आपकी plant की growth को that would just hamper it. और जो आपका क्योंकि because you are growing the medicinal plants to produce these herbal medicines, so water should be of good bacteriological quality. Okay, it should meet your local, regional or national quality standards, whatever the standards, quality standards that have been set up by the government. So water, it should comply according to those standards. And the other thing that has to be taken care of is that your plant should neither be overwatered, मतलब उसको ज्यादा water भी नहीं करना है और ना ही उसको कम पानी देना है, under watered. It has to be watered under optimal conditions, जो उसकी optimal growth को favor करे. ठीक है? So, okay, now we come to the other point, that is the plant maintenance and protection. Okay, thank you, Rishita. Now I'll ask some other student to just read. Okay, Premal Priya. Premal Priya, are you there? She is not there. Prince Raj. Prince Raj. Prince Raj. Osika Mukherjee.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you see the slides?
Yes, ma'am. Plant maintenance and protection.
Yes. Just read it. You have opened your webcam? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, read it.
Field management practices should be planned as per the growth and development characteristics of individual medicinal plants, as well as plant part destined for the medicinal use. The timely application of measures such as stopping, bud nipping, pruning, and shaping may be used to control the growth and development of the plant, thereby improving the quality and quantity of the medicinal plants medicinal plant material being produced. Damaged and perished plants should be promptly shorted out. Any agrochemicals used to promote the growth of or to protect medicinal plants should be kept to a minimum and applied only when no alternative measures are available. Only qualified staff using approved equipment should be carry out pesticides and herbicides application.
So here we are talking about what are the different plant maintenance and protection measures that has to be followed. So individual plant, these field management practices has to be applied according to your nature of the plant growth. ठीक है, तो जो भी आपका plant organ है that is being destined for the medicinal use, या तो आपका roots है या leaves है या flowers है, जो भी है आपका medicinal plant part, तो यू हैव टू जस्ट इंश्योर कि इस तरीके से आपको उसकी कल्टीवेशन करनी है. यू हैव टू जस्ट प्लान योर फील्ड मैनेजमेंट प्रैक्टिसेस सो दैट द ऑप्टिमम ग्रोथ ऑफ दीज प्लांट पार्ट्स टेक्स प्लेस. ठीक है, तो इसमें कुछ दिए गए हैं कि एग्रोकेमिकल्स यू हैव टू यूज टू प्रमोट, दैट आर जनरली बीइंग यूज्ड टू प्रमोट द ग्रोथ, बट that should be kept to a minimum and they should be used only when no other alternative measures are available. जब तक कि वो बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी ना हो तो you are not allowed to use these agrochemicals, and only the qualified staff should be there who can handle, who has a good knowledge of these plant protection measures. They should be allowed to just carry out these pesticide and herbicide applications कि ना तो वो ज्यादा अमाउंट में वो स्प्रे हो आपका pesticide या herbicide, ना ही कम अमाउंट में. So all the staff, whoever is handling your plant maintenance, they should be well qualified. Then comes the next point, that is regarding the harvesting and the primary processing. Okay, just continue, Osika. Read this also.
Harvest and primary processing. Appropriate harvesting season should be determined according to the crop yield per hectare. Medicinal plants should be harvested during the optimal season or time period to ensure the production of medicinal plants material and finished herbal products of the best possible quality. The time of harvest depends on the plant part to be used. Medicinal plants should be harvested under the best possible condition, avoiding dew, rain, or exceptional high humidity. If harvesting occurs in wet conditions, the harvested material should be transported immediately to an indoor drying facility to expedite drying so as to prevent an possible deleterious effect due to increased moisture levels, which promote microbial fermentation and mold.
Okay, good. Okay, Osika. Now here this slide just tells you about what are the appropriate harvesting and the प्राइमरी प्रोसेसिंग कंडीशंस. अब प्राइमरी प्रोसेसिंग कंडीशंस में क्या आता है कि आपने हार्वेस्टिंग करी, प्लांट की आपकी ग्रोथ हो गई, then you have to harvest it and you have to just transport it to your processing facility, post harvest processing facility. ठीक है, तो first thing you have to keep in mind is that जो harvesting time है आपका, you have to select it according to the nature of your plant. अगर आपका herbal material जो है एक्टिव कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट उसमें फ्लावर्स में है, जैसे मेडिसिनल एरोमेटिक प्लांट्स में जनरली फ्लावर्स यूज होते हैं क्योंकि फ्लावर्स में ऑयल होता है, या फिर लीव्स में. तो यू हैव टू इंश्योर दैट योर हार्वेस्टिंग शुड नॉट बी कैरिड आउट अंडर द डायरेक्ट सनलाइट. ठीक है, वो आप जब पढ़ोगे एक एक प्लांट का, कुछ प्लांट्स के तो देन यू विल स्टडी इन डिटेल दैट व्हाई इट इज चूजन. की अगर आप डायरेक्ट सनलाइट में हार्वेस्टिंग करोगे तो आपका जो वॉलेटाइल ऑयल है, एसेंशियल ऑयल है, इट वुड इवेपोरेट. तो वो जो है अर्ली मॉर्निंग आवर्स में या इवनिंग आवर्स में it's being preferred to harvest them. Similarly, for the most of the medicinal plants, the harvesting is carried out under the conditions where there is no dew, there is no humidity in there, high humidity in the atmosphere, or during the rainy days, the harvesting is generally not preferred. Okay, तो अगर आप हार्वेस्टिंग का ध्यान रखोगे, if it is done during the optimal season or time period, so you will get the best quality herbal products. So it's very important. And if harvesting it, अगर आपकी मजबूरी है, if you are doing the harvesting in the wet conditions also, sometimes it's not possible to avoid. So what you have to do is that you have to just transport immediately to a somewhat indoor drying facility, कि आपके पास मैकेनिकल एयर ड्रायर्स हैं जिससे आप उसको इमीडिएटली ड्राई कर सकें. क्योंकि अगर आप ऐसा नहीं करोगे, so what would happen, that would favor the growth of the mold. increase moisture होगा तो आपका उसमें microbial fermentation और mold growth के chances हैं, so that would spoil your herbal material. Okay, so this was about the harvest and the primary processing. Okay, so next slide maybe it is about again harvesting only, but I asked some other student to read it. Riya Narwal. Riya, are you there? Sahil, are you there? Sakshi?
Hello.
Yes, Sakshi.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Can you see the slide?
The harvested raw plant material coated from clean, dry conditions. Machines and equipment should be clean and free of pollution. They should be dry places. It should be taken that possible no quantities of non-medicinal materials or impurities, especially weeds or toxins, are mixed with harvested. Contact with soil should be avoided to extent possible so as to minimize the microbial load of harvested medicinal plant material. Detailed information concerning the appropriate timing of the harvest are available in National
Pharmacopoeias.
Published standards, official monographs, and major reference books.
Okay, so here it's being told that your harvested raw material, it should be after you just do the harvesting. So it is very necessary, important that you have to just transport it as soon as possible in a dry conditions. So आपका जो storage area है, it should be clean and dry. Okay, so that there are no chances to acquire the moisture or to support the mold growth. Then the second thing is that your harvesting machines, whatever the harvesting machines or equipments you are using to cutting the plants, so they should also be clean and free from any contamination, and they have to be stored in a dry and pest free places. Okay, and the next thing is that no quantities of non-medicinal materials or impurities like the weeds or your toxic matters, it should be mixed with the harvested crops. इसका मतलब ये है कि जो भी आपने हार्वेस्ट किया है अपना प्लांट मटेरियल, यू हैव टू एंश्योर कि जब आप उसको प्राइमरी प्रोसेसिंग या पोस्ट हार्वेस्ट प्रोसेसिंग कंडीशंस के लिए लेके जा रहे हो, तो यू हैव टू एंश्योर कि वो किसी और पर्टिकुलर उसका एडल्ट्रेशन या कंटामिनेशन ना हो किसी से, या वीड से या टॉक्सिक मटेरियल से वो मिक्स ना हो जाए. तो यू हैव टू एंश्योर दैट योर स्टोरेज एरिया शुड बी क्लीन एंड ड्राई एंड फ्री फ्रॉम एनी सच weeds or foreign matter. Okay, then your contact with the soil should also be avoided, because soil is a storehouse of reservoir of all the pathogens. So you have to just ensure that your contact with the soil should be avoided to the maximum possible level. Okay, and you have to just give the detailed information कि आपने कितने टाइम पे कौन से टाइम पे हार्वेस्ट की है. So all of these informations are generally being given in the national pharmacopoeias or journals में published standards, official monographs are available or the reference books. तो आप कोई भी क्रॉप की अगर आप कल्टीवेशन कर रहे हो तो उसके बारे में आपकी जो हार्वेस्टिंग कौन से पर्टिकुलर ऑप्टिमम टाइम है जिसमें उसकी हार्वेस्टिंग करनी चाहिए, तो ये सारी इंफॉर्मेशन भी आपको ये सारी बुक्स में से मिल सकती है. तो ये इसमें लिखा हुआ है कि नेशनल फार्माकोपियास आर अवेलेबल, देयर वेरियस बुक्स, रेफरेंस बुक्स आर अवेलेबल, मोनोग्राफ्स आर अवेलेबल, जिसमें डिटेल इंफॉर्मेशन होती है कि कब प्लांट की हार्वेस्ट करनी हो सकती है. तो वहां से आपको डिटेल इंफॉर्मेशन यू कैन गेट. ओके okay, Sakshi Kumari. Now I'll ask Sakshi Kumari to read. Sakshi Kumari, are you there? No. Sakshi Rana. Sakshi Rana. Samriddhi Sinha.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You can see the slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just read it.
Yes. So, harvest and primary processing. After harvesting, the medicinal organs of the plant should be screened, washed, and processed, and then dried immediately. The drying temperature should be regulated to avoid damaging the active components. Drying equipment must be maintained clean and must be regularly serviced. Medicinal materials for fresh use should be kept under refrigeration or canned. The use of preservatives should be avoided as far as possible. In case of necessity, the use of preservatives should still conform to the food hygiene law, and all containers used at harvest should be kept clean and free from contamination by previously harvested medicinal plants and other foreign matter.
Yes. So here it's being told कि जब आपने when you have harvested your plant, so it is necessary that they should be screened. अब screen में क्या आता है कि it has to be sorted out कि अगर उसमें कोई भी foreign material है, dust है, dirt है, या कोई भी grit है, stones हैं, तो you have to just separate them out. ठीक है? Then you have to wash them. Particularly generally water से इसमें wash नहीं होता है, बहुत कम cases में है that you have to wash it with water, but generally the washing is done with the air, using the dry air with high pressure. Okay, so that all the dust and the dirt are being just removed away, and then they are processed and dried immediately. So और जितना भी जो भी आप temperature drying के लिए use कर रहे हो, you have to just ensure कि that should not damage your active constituents, because your active constituents, they are highly susceptible to the temperature. So you have to ensure कि जो भी आपका ड्राइंग का टेम्परेचर है वो इतना ज्यादा ना हो कि आपके वो एक्टिव कंपोनेंट्स को डैमेज कर दे. Then whatever the drying equipment you are using, they should be clean, okay, and they should be regularly cleaned and serviced. Then whatever, if you are using the preservatives, first thing is that ki medicinal materials ko you can store it under refrigeration or under canning if they are being taken for the secondary processing conditions. ठीक है? Otherwise, if you are using the preservatives, you have to just ensure that they are being just recommended according to the food hygiene law. ऐसा नहीं है कि आप कोई भी preservative use कर सकते हो. You have to just ensure it कि whatever which preservatives are being recommended for that particular thing, and all the containers which are used at harvest, ठीक है, जो भी आप containers use कर रहे हो harvesting के time पे, they should also be kept free, clean and free from any contamination, कि आपने जो previous harvested material उसमें वो आपका उसमें ना हो, ताकि नहीं तो वो उसमें foreign matter mix हो जाएगा, then it would also lead to the contamination or adulteration. So you have to ensure that all your containers should be clean. Then comes the next point, that is the packaging, transportation and storage. I think the time is over, so we would be just taking this slide, this lecture from the next in your next class. Okay, so I'll stop here. We are on slide 16. Okay, and I have already uploaded this lecture in your meeting chat also, so you can download the slides from there also. Okay, if I can take your
Thank you, ma'am.
okay, thank you. You can leave the class now.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.